Hi, and welcome to another edition of CBU Conversations. I'm Jack Shannon, president of Christian Brothers University, and we're very pleased today to have with us Dr. Leslie Maccabee, who is the director of the AutoZone Center for Community Engagement here at CBU. Welcome, Leslie.
Hi, thank you so much, Jack.
Well, I know that this is a great time for us to learn a little bit more about the fantastic work being done by the AutoZone Center for Community Engagement. So let me first start off by asking generally a little bit more about the center itself and your role as the director, having been here for a year now at CBU.
Sure, absolutely. So I might first by just pointing to the name, the AutoZone Center for Community Engagement. So this name gestures to our generous support from AutoZone. And what we do here at the center is align CBU's Lasallian mission with community development goals in Memphis. So what we're really working toward is being in partnership with community agencies, whether those are nonprofits, local schools, community-based corporations, and we're really working to identify the needs and address the public good goals that are mutual to CBU and Memphis.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So I guess I might start by also saying that one of our strategies for approaching community engagement is called place-based community engagement. And what that means is that we are emphasizing our relationships to the neighborhoods and the neighbors in direct vicinity of CBU. So to the north of us, we have Binghamton, and to the south, Orange Mound. And so we have been cultivating relationships with nonprofits in particular in each of these neighborhoods. And so where we might see CBU engaging with nonprofits, organizations within those neighborhoods and without, we're not excluding anyone who has the goal of improving the good in Memphis. We work with faculty to support their pedagogy. And so that we call community engaged learning. And what that does is it's connecting the learning that happens in the classroom to work that's done either through projects or it's direct, working on site with community partners, so that students are recognizing that learning comes from multiple people, multiple spaces, and they're really learning a lot about themselves in a more global community. And so in addition to that kind of course-based community engagement, we also, of course, have things outside the classroom. So we have programming that's coordinating service opportunities that's often in coordination with other departments, student organizations. So it's just really exciting to work with so many wonderful people on campus. And then I might also nod to our quality enhancement plan. And so all of that I've just mentioned comes from our Lasallian commitment to social justice, to addressing the needs in our community. And so we have helped develop this plan along with many others. And we will be able to chart, track, and assess our programming so that we can continue to improve it year by year, so that we are engaging Memphis responsibly and we're bringing the best programming possible to our students. And I know I'm going on and on. We've got a lot going on over here, but most recently we have also incorporated community engagement plans and programming for this year with an eye to the November 2020 elections. So we are now one of 5 Lasallian institutions participating in the All-In Campus Democracy Challenge. And what that does is work to increase student participation in shaping our collective democracy.
It's an awful lot, as you said. What's really great about the center, I think, is the fact that all of these activities tie back to the classroom and the educational experience for our students. And at the same time, they are fully engaged with our surrounding communities. As you mentioned, Binghamton and Orange Mound being the 2 primary areas of focus for us. It builds upon a really long legacy of community engagement and involvement here at CBU. My predecessor, President Smirelli, really launched a lot of exciting initiatives, including the conceptual framework for the center itself. You've been very involved the past year building partnerships. You've been taking and expanding the work we're doing. What I really appreciate is the fact that here at CBU, we don't go in and just tell a community, this is what should be done. We are respectful as LaSallians. I love the way that you and the team at the Center for Community Engagement have gone in and over the course of the past year, immersed yourself in the communities of Binghamton and Orange Mound, for example, and have listened to our neighbors and now are beginning to launch some very exciting new partnerships. Maybe could you spend a few moments, Leslie, talking about what those partnerships are, and so that our viewers have a sense of the concrete things that we're doing here through the work of the center.
Absolutely. Yeah, so I might start first by mentioning a partnership with Memphis Public Libraries. And this is through several community engaged learning courses. And so they are all actually interconnected. It's an interdisciplinary community engaged learning course that includes English, art, engineering, and computer sciences. And so what they will be working toward is creating an app that will build the community for Cossett Library in downtown Memphis. So this is a really exciting ongoing project that started last year and is continuing into this semester and will be a year-long project. And then if I might gesture to our neighborhood focus. So Refugee Empowerment Program in Binghamton is a longtime partner. And so we are establishing a mentorship program between some student organizations and their young students K through 5. Of course, this will be virtual for the fall semester, but we're seeing this as a long-term commitment to building relationships, which is really what the center is all about. In addition, we have a community engaged learning course that also has this fall semester a relationship with Refugee Empowerment Program. So Dr. Samantha Alperin in education will be working in collaboration with the staff at REP. And then I'm really happy to share that we have been in conversation with Howard Eddings. He is with the Red Zone Ministries in Orange Mound. He's really excited to work with CBU. And so we are in the planning phase, just kind of thinking through, brainstorming what our relationship might look like, so that we are providing the educational opportunities that benefit our students, but also benefit the teens that work with his after-school programming. And so I could go on and on about other partners, but I also don't want to leave out Catholic Charities, which so much aligns with our values as an institution and the goals that they have in their community outreach. So just wanted to give a nod to them as well.
That's great. I think it's really important the work that we're doing, as you said, geographically in Orange Mound, as well as Binghamton, our neighboring communities, but also regionally with Catholic Charities. Their mission is truly a LaSallian one. It's about service to others and to our larger community. And it's great to see the center have that partnership. You mentioned talking about planning, and it's really important. The work that's being done by the center is based upon conversation, dialogue, and thoughtful planning. However, sometimes plans go up quickly, and they, no matter, in spite of the best efforts, circumstances change. Most notably, this year, we all grappling with the changes forced upon us by the COVID-19 pandemic. Can you talk for a moment, Leslie, about what the pandemic has done in terms of the work that is being done by the center and how you've had to adjust your plans for engaging with our community?
Absolutely. Yes. So I feel like it's actually, while it's certainly presenting a lot of challenges, the pandemic, it's also opening up opportunities. And one of them is to connect with community engagement professionals at other higher ed institutions. That's within the LaSallian network, that's on a national level, having conversations about what community engagement looks like in this era. And I think that the answer is that we have a movement away from single service, direct service, though not exclusively. We would never want to lose out on that in-person engagement once we are able to do that in a healthy world. But for the moment, getting an opportunity to concentrate on advocacy and social justice. So it's kind of moving emphasis there for the present. And so what I've been working on is integrating kind of social justice learning and action into the programming for this year. And an example would be in September of Service, we will be hosting what are called Digging Deeper events. So we have team leaders. We have a really awesome SOS leadership team of students. They are going to be leading these, strategizing with community partners in Memphis, but also on campus, so that we are facing an issue in Memphis, asking why this exists, why action needs to be taken, and what kind of action is most beneficial. So it's really an awesome educational opportunity to learn about our city and why it's important to serve in multiple capacities, not just in person, how we can capacity build for our partners in the community.
So we've talked a few moments ago about our community partners in Binghamton, Orange Mound, Catholic Charities, most notably. You spent a bit of time talking about the exciting work that our incredibly talented and committed faculty are doing in partnership with the Center for Community Engagement. What's most important, perhaps, though, is the work that you're doing with our students, because as a LaSallian institution, we're really focused on the education and development of our students in a charism and history that dates back now more than 3.5 centuries. Can you talk a little bit, if you might, about what are the specific programs and activities and events that our students can look forward to experiencing this fall at CVU?
Yes, so I mentioned September of Service before, and for those who are new to September of Service, it is an institution here at CVU. So we are heading into the 9th year. Dr. Tracy Burke developed the program, and so we will be expanding on the dynamic model that she created. And so I had plans to shape it in a non-COVID world, but under these circumstances, our projects will be remote, and they will be, but they will still be community-based projects. So we are kind of using them as an opportunity for our students to build relationships with one another as they join teams to work on these projects, but they're also connecting with community partners. So we're not eliminating, the relationship building aspect at all, but we will be doing it safely at a distance. And then I also want to highlight, as I mentioned before, the civic engagement programming that we will be implementing this fall semester. So this is going to be voter registration and education activities, and these are going to be really fun. So we're planning for a Civic Saturday, and this is an opportunity to really celebrate how collective action can contribute to the good of our communities. We might have documentary film screenings, and we're collaborating all over campus to ensure that this is an inclusive process, and that we are all ready to be engaged citizens.
So a couple of minutes ago, you mentioned the September of Service program here at CVU. It's a signature program. You acknowledge the incredibly important leadership role played by Dr. Tracy Burke, along with the many student leaders who have assisted her over the course of the last decade in getting that program incubated, launched, and it's become now an institution here at CBU. Denise and I had the opportunity when we came to CBU this past summer to participate in a number of events. We were incredibly inspired by the commitment of our students to that work, as well as the community partners who are doing that work day in and day out over the course of a year. Can you provide us with maybe a little bit of further insights as to what the fall will hold for the September service program in terms of individual events and activities?
Yes, I think it's going to be a really exciting set of activities that we have planned. So we are going to have different themes for each week so that we do have a focus that will kind of help us understand how issues, social challenges in our community overlap. So our first week, we will be focusing on healthcare and healthcare access. In our second week, we will be celebrating some of our new relationships in Orange Mound, and so focusing on development in Orange Mound. In the third week, we will focus on children and families, the services rendered to those groups. And then we will also have an environment week after that, and then a focus on refugee and immigrant support systems. And so what's really great, I think, about this structure is that we will, by the end of the month, as a community, recognize how so many of these areas intersect. And as I mentioned before, the Digging Deeper events in which we kind of pull community partners in conversation with students, faculty, and staff, we really start to understand some of the systemic causes for a lot of these community challenges and kind of set a course for action. And so within each week, we will have service projects. Some of these projects will encompass the entire month. For example, we've been in communication with Catholic Charities and having a Blue Jean drive for the whole month. We hope will bring much valued donations to those who enjoy the closed closet at their organization. But other opportunities might be one day. So we are seeing a lot more flexibility in the types of projects that will be offered. And what we really hope as well is that the learning will continue before, during, and after these opportunities. So we are working with our student leaders to develop reflection activities so that students will be inspired to continue talking and processing their experience, even though it's remote. We are really emphasizing that active relationship building is happening. And so helping them process their experience will be really important. And I'll add one more thing, and that is that service will not end in September, though we are highlighting it in that month. We will be working with partners throughout the year. And so hopefully by really within the month, I hope we're in a healthy world. But for spring semester, that we can start doing more in-person work with our community partners.
Yeah, I think that's what we're all hoping for, a return to an opportunity for us to engage more interpersonally here on campus. One of the things that you mentioned was the environmental focus. I think it's also needs to be noted that you coordinate with others across campus. So this year, our Freshman Reads project, which is also the basis for the citywide initiative that's based here at CBU, Memphis Reads, will focus on environmental issues, which is, once again, that continuing of the learning experience, both in the classroom and out, that's a hallmark of a CBU education. We've talked about lots of opportunities in recent months as we've all had to adjust with COVID. Those are challenges, but being true LaSallians, we view them as opportunities to do new things, to provide maybe services and programs in a different way, and to adjust as necessary so that we continue to serve our students in our community. I know that you've been busy doing a lot of that yourself. Talk to me a little bit about the new opportunities that you and your colleagues at the center have seized upon, and what type of virtual programming or events our students can look forward to this fall.
So at the in the middle of spring, when we were all kind of feeling our way through the beginning of what we would soon know was the pandemic, the center created a a civic engagement committee that would develop a civic action plan for our university. And so with this kind of dawning realization that our programming would be completely different, it meant that we were also more creative, I think, than usual, and in recognizing what our digital tools were going to have to be for civic engagement activities on campus this fall. So one of our efforts is to imagine really interactive online scenarios, such as inviting local Tennessee candidates to speak with our students, and not necessarily hosting a debate, but talking about the importance of participation in our collective democracy, the importance of voting. So we are really emphasizing nonpartisan conversations about what brings us together. And then I also want to emphasize that out of our civic engagement plan, we really wanted to be as inclusive as possible. And so that means including international students and our DACA or Dreamer students who are ineligible to vote, but certainly have a voice and have stories to tell about either voting in their home countries or speaking on what they feel is important about voting. And so we are incorporating programming that will make sure that all voices are heard as we discuss participation in the upcoming elections. So that's one of the things most recently that we've been really passionate about as the countdown begins, heading toward November.
I love the fact that the center and that type of work is embodying our mission at CVU, and the fact that we are a very diverse, supportive, and inclusive community. So even though some may be on the outskirts of a conversation or a dialogue, we bring them in and we make sure that their voices are heard. So kudos to you and your colleagues for making that happen as part of the center's work. We've only scratched the surface, I know, all the great work that the center is doing and has been doing over the course of the past year. Unfortunately, we do have some time limitations. However, before we conclude, I wanted to offer you the opportunity to tell our viewers how can they learn more about the work of the center, and maybe even access information about not just future programs, but some of the great past activities that have been sponsored through the center.
Absolutely. So I would recommend for a quick list of things that you can do right now is to visit some of our volunteer management nonprofits. So those include Volunteer Odyssey and Volunteer Memphis. And so they are working continuously with nonprofits all over the city to understand their needs and what can be done remotely and safely. And so I also will point to just really simple things that we can do on a daily basis to improve our community. And that's checking storm drains to see if they need cleaning out, picking up litter, be creative and safe when you're looking to for opportunities to give back. There also, please reach out to me. There are plentiful resources of local and national projects that you can work on. Like a quick example is transcribing documents for the Smithsonian Institution. So you can do national service as well. And I have to say, register to vote if you're eligible. We have an election coming up on August 6th, and I encourage you to visit, I believe it's campusvoteproject.org. So even if you are not voting in Tennessee, you can find a state guide that will help you through that process.
So I really appreciate, Leslie, you making the time to join us today. Once again, we've spent this period with Dr. Leslie Maccabee, the director of our AutoZone Center for Community Engagement here at CBU. At the end of this presentation, there'll be information on how you can access the CBU website to find out more about the great work being done by the center. Once again, thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you next Tuesday for the next edition of CBU Conversations. Thank you.